Today I'm going over a really special story that happened to me when I was in high school. We're going to go over some scripture that goes along with it. And it's a story that really shows how we need to let God fight our battles for us. So, here we go. I was in online homeschooling in high school, and my girlfriend at the time was in regular schooling. I would often meet up with her for lunch, but I had previously gotten arrested for trespassing on the school property, as you can see here. So after that, I would wait for her on the outside public sidewalk. On this particular day, I had bought her a hot cocoa from Circle K, like I usually did. And I was standing there on the sidewalk. 3 kids come up before my girlfriend does. One of the 3, named Dan, comes straight up to me, looks at the cocoa in my hand, and he kicks it. And it explodes all over me, scolding hot cocoa, and we were all in shock. I think even he was in shock. I don't think he even knew. I don't even think he processed what he had just done, but he just did it. I was so mad. I had so much rage go through me at that moment. He had the highway behind him, so my first thought was, "You're lying." But I knew I was already dealing with my previous arrest, and if I had pursued that fight, I definitely wouldn't have been seeing my girlfriend that day. I would have gotten arrested again. I would have had another charge, more time on probation, and they all laughed and walked away, and I stood there feeling just completely defeated. In one hand, I was proud of myself for keeping my self-control, but at the same time, I hated the fact that I didn't do anything to stand up for myself. And it bothered me until months later. And I went to a diner with my girlfriend and her family, and guess who was taking drink orders that day? Dan. And it was obviously his first day at work. He reluctantly came over and realized that he's going to have to serve the same guy he basically assaulted not too long ago. And I could have made a big deal about it, and I could have embarrassed him in front of his coworkers. And the same way part of me wanted to do this,
You're lying.
I kind of wanted to do those things. But at this point, there was clearly something God had planned. And so I did what I had been doing, which was nothing. I knew God had something planned, and I wasn't going to screw it up now. But when he asked what I wanted to drink, of course, I said cocoa. He refused to make eye contact. He knew exactly what was going on. And he was really nervous, not knowing what my next move was going to be. And also pretty pissed off that he's going to have to serve this cocoa. And at that point, I was satisfied. Right then I was satisfied with how well this had worked out, just letting God handle this. But God wasn't done. As he was bringing my cocoa to my table, he had spilt it all over himself. And he had to go make me another one. And he did. And at this, I could have laughed and pointed and told him how much he deserved it. But by this point, I honestly started feeling bad for him. And so I just ate my food and I left. So, years later, I get on Facebook and I have a message from Dan. And he had written me one of the most heartfelt apology letters. He told me he was trying to turn his life around and right his wrongs. And that kicking that cocoa out of my hand that day was one of the things he felt most guilty about. He said I was one of the main people he wanted to apologize to. And he kindly asked for my forgiveness. And so I told him that I would definitely forgive him as soon as he lets me kick a scolding hot cocoa all over his face. I'm kidding. I forgave him. I'm really proud of him for trying to make that difference in himself and trying to right his wrongs. That's something that's really hard to do, and not everybody's willing to do it. So, of course, I forgave him, and I hope him the best. But this does bring me to Romans 12:19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Let God fight your battles for you. You won't regret it.